300,000?
Yeah, the goal is that our current levels are fairly low.
Well, we're fairly low, but the target that we adopted, I believe it's 300,000 EVs to get on the road of the Commonwealth, working with some of our other New England states as well. And of course, a lot of that is going to be coming from our own vehicles right within state government, but we really want to try to push and incent what you are doing and so many people are doing.
And a big part of that, what we're really pushing, I think, as a state for more charging stations. That's a big part of it, is that people need to be confident that they can.
If you don't mind, why don't I call on you right now? You can introduce yourself in representing the Clean Energy Center in Massachusetts, just so that you will all have the opportunity to hear what some of the work of the Clean Energy Center is and what they're doing.
Thank you, Senator. Bob Fitzpatrick, I am Government Affairs Director at the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, as the Senator said. We work on a lot of these issues, not on the policy side as much, but on the deployment side and on the technology development side. So we work with startups and things like that to push that next level of innovation in clean energy. And we work on the deployment side, and we do a lot of the studies. There's actually a few on the table that came in, just like a half dozen, of our industry report, which is where a lot of the Senator's numbers on the first few slides come from. That's one of the things we do is an energy economy study every year. So on the EV issue, we've done studies on that, and one of the things we're working with other partners in state government to really push more EV charging stations, and out on the Pike, for instance, they're trying to roll them out there. Municipalities are a big part of this because, again, for the average folks who don't have that kind of like commitment to get, they really want to know that if they have an electric vehicle, they can charge it conveniently and so on. And then, so we're working on that side. And again, we do a lot of different programming. A lot of clean renewable heating is a new program of ours. And to the first gentleman was talking about environmental justice and that kind of stuff. It's another area that is really important that we're trying to do a little bit more with. It's a slightly harder nut to crack, is to try to make sure that lower income folks and environmental justice communities have access to the benefits, not just the clean air benefits, which do go to everybody, but the financial benefits of owning these sorts of resources. So we're working to sort of advance our thinking as a state in those areas. So thank you, Bob.
Yeah, this is a state agency that is really, our tax dollars are being used wisely in terms of what they're doing. And so I thank you very much for being here. And anybody that has any questions, if Bob is around, I'm sure he'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Next, in terms of those people that have signed up that are willing to speak, Joe Cavallo.
Thank you, Senator Pacheco, and other members of the Senate for being here. I remain the president of the Coalition for Responsible Siting of LNG Facilities, which for 8 years blocked an LNG terminal from being located in the north end of Fall River. I'm also the Special Projects Director for Green Futures, a local environmental group, and a proud member of the South Coast Neighbors United, which is fighting the LNG proposal in Cushing. What I'd like to talk about tonight, especially looking at Mass Clean Energy Future, is to support the Stoughton line for South Coast Rail. There's a report from the Union of Concerned Scientists that talk about diesel engines and public health, the health impacts, and it goes on and on. anybody can look this up. There was even a more recent study done by the University of Toronto, February 8th of this year. A new study finds that diesel trains may expose passengers to elevated levels of certain pollutants, especially if they are sitting directly behind the locomotive. So that study is online as well. And now back in 2010, from the Department of Justice, Office of Public Affairs, Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority to spend millions to reduce commuter train emissions in a Clean Air Act settlement. So one of my questions is, I wonder where we're at with that. You know, or is the Justice Department probably not going to issue another statement like that, given the situation in Washington? Now, just last month, April 20th, in the Herald News, there was an article that says Bristol County air quality receives failing grade. And this is all from the American Lung Association's 2017 State of the Air report, which analyzes air quality data for the years 2013, 14, and 15. So basically, what we're talking about, if we actually do the Middleborough route with diesel trains, it is more of the same. One of the last paragraphs in this article talks about, in Massachusetts, 1.3 million people, including more than 200,000 individuals living with asthma, COPD, or lung cancer, reside in Bristol and Essex counties, which receive failing marks, of course. So the idea that we're going to rely on diesel trains because of some cost effectiveness. What I would ask the Senate or some agency or organization to do is a cost study analysis. The money that they say would be saved with the diesel train, and put that up against what the health care costs are going to be for people along that route. It just makes no sense at all to me. You know, it's kind of like, what price public health? What price public health? That's the question that has to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. And Joe, for you and for anybody here that is supportive of the Stoke route, as you know, the MEPA study is going on right now, and the 19th is the final date for public comment. And so I've asked you to actually put in writing. There's actually an email address that you can email. It's on the DOT website to put your comments in writing and get them in there. And that's one of the questions that you can ask them. Because when we look at the cost of carbon here, that's one of them. Public health is a cost of carbon. With the Clean Air Act that President Obama had put into place, if it went into full implementation, which is still in the courts, as you know, but if it went into full implementation, EPA has told us on the public record that Massachusetts would actually save $1.9 billion a year by cutting back on the carbon emissions from the plants where we have the wind coming into Massachusetts in healthcare costs. $1.9 billion in healthcare costs, bringing asthma rates down, in particular with children. So thank you very much for your comment. Karen Coughlin, talking about healthcare.
Yeah.
Karen.
I'm so happy you wanted that. Good evening. My name is Karen Coughlin, and I am a registered nurse at Taunton State Hospital and vice president of the Massachusetts Nurses Association, which represents 23,000 frontline nurses and healthcare professionals working in more than 85 healthcare facilities from Cape Cod to the Berkshires. Our members are nearly all direct care providers, and I can tell you that we are seeing and will continue to see the real-life impact of climate change on the health of our patients and the communities that we serve. The public health community is quite clear, and the evidence is overwhelming that climate change is a significant threat to the health of the American people. The impacts of human-induced climate change are increasing nationwide. Rising greenhouse gas results in increases in temperature, changes in precipitation, increases in the frequency and intensity of some extreme weather events, and rising sea levels. These changes impact and endanger our health by affecting our food and water supplies and sources, the air we breathe, and the weather that we experience. As the climate continues to change, and we as a society continue to downplay or ignore its impacts, the risk to human health continues to grow. Every American is vulnerable to the health impacts associated with climate change. Increased exposure to multiple health threats, together with changes in our ability to adapt to those threats, increases a person's vulnerability to climate-related health effects. While all Americans are at risk, some populations, however, are disproportionately vulnerable, including those with low income, some communities of color, many of our immigrant groups, children, pregnant women, older adults, and people with pre-existing or chronic medical conditions. According to public health research, climate change impacts on outdoor air quality will increase exposure in urban areas where larger proportions of minority, low-income, homeless, and immigration populations reside. Given the relatively higher rates of cardiovascular and respiratory diseases in low-income urban populations, these populations are more sensitive to degraded air quality, resulting in increases in illness, hospitalization, and premature death. In addition, climate change can contribute to increases in asthma, an illness that is relatively more common among some communities of color and low-income groups, and we have seen a dramatic rise in asthma rates among children in recent years in our healthcare settings. Climate change is expected to increase exposure to waterborne pathogens that cause a variety of illnesses. We see this also, most commonly gastrointestinal illnesses and diarrhea. Substandard or deteriorating water infrastructure, including sewerage, drainage, and stormwater systems, and drinking water systems in both urban and rural low-income areas also contribute to increased risk of exposure to waterborne pathogens. The elderly and the poor are very susceptible to heat-related illnesses caused by longer droughts and rising temperatures. Like canaries in the mine, we nurses see and care for the victims of our neglect. And I'm here to help sound the alarm for our state and for our nation to place climate change at the top of our public health agenda.
Thank you very much, Karen. Excellent testimony, and couldn't agree with you more, as you know. I mean, the American Lung Association is continuing to say exactly what you said this evening, and I thank you for taking time to be here and share your comments with all of us tonight. Thank you. John? From Lakeville.
Thank you. I'm here to talk about the electric rail, but not simply the South Coast Rail, but all across the country. We, as Massachusetts, are typically a leader in the nation, and I think it's our time to teach the rest of the nation to electrify. Why? Because 64% of the rails in Italy are electrified, 52% in France, 48% in Germany, 46% in Russia, 41% in China, 30% in India, 18% in Japan, and just 1% in the United States. Since 2000, energy costs have risen by 134%. Diesel, gasoline, and electricity are highly volatile commodities, so they're dangerous to deal with. It's safer to go with the sun, the wind, and the ocean. They are all stable, they're all there, and they're not leaving us. The Dutch have demonstrated this. The Dutch trains are powered by electricity from 100% wind power. Trains that carry 600,000 people a day need around 1.2 billion kilowatt hours of electricity a year. But they have three main options on board. They have onboard energy storage systems, such as batteries, overhead wires that connect the trains to send the power down the lines, and an extra live rail that has direct current through the trains. Now, 31% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the country are from electricity, but 27% are from transportation. And of that 27%, 60% are from light-duty vehicles, cars and trucks. 23% is from medium and heavy-duty trucks, and 8% aircraft, 2% ships and boats, 2% passenger trains, and 4% other. The key target here is the heavy-duty trucks, because 4,000 Americans die and nearly 10,000 are injured each year in accidents involving heavy trucks. Also, the heavy trucks do serious damage to our highways beyond the ability for us to keep up with it. Because the American Society of Civil Engineers maintains that just to keep our highways from getting worse than they are requires $101 billion annually. And that 32% of our major roads are currently in poor to mediocre condition. The cost to motorists for traveling on deficient roads is $67 billion per year, or $324 per motorist in additional repairs and operating costs. Congestion is another problem with the highways, with all these vehicles. Major highways, congestion took a toll of 1.9 billion gallons of wasted gasoline and forced drivers to spend an additional 34 hours behind the wheel. The electric locomotive can provide some service that diesel locomotives, same service for the diesel, but only at 44% of the energy cost. They also are cheaper to buy and 35% cheaper to operate than the diesel locomotive, because the electric locomotive has far fewer parts. So the question is, do we invest to bring down the greenhouse gases and to improve the economy at the same time? Because the study indicates that just the states of Texas and the Dakotas have the potential for wind power electricity that would be enough for 3 times greater than the annual consumed by all of the United States. If we had the rail corridors connected there and can thus send the electricity down the line from places like that, we wouldn't need fossil fuels at all.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Let me just say that I want to thank you very much for your testimony. It's spot on. When you look at the electrification of the Stoughton route, it's just one of the routes, but that was supposed to be the beginning of what we would be doing across the Commonwealth. And when you look at the potential for offshore wind, it's been said that here off the coast of Massachusetts, we are like the Saudi Arabia of wind. So we could do, 10 gigawatts of offshore wind. which is quite significant. You know, we could be exporting energy to some other states, and we could, in fact, operate our rail system very easily. That's about getting the political will in place to get it done, and that's why we're out here talking to you about this time. So thank you. Diana Painter from Fairhaven.
I was expecting more people to go ahead of me. My name is Diana Painter, yes, I'm from Fairhaven, and I'm here tonight because I love Massachusetts. I moved here 5 years ago to mostly do education around energy efficiency with the South Coast Energy Challenge. And I remember that moment that I came in on the 95, and I've never been here before. And I look into town, and there are 2 beautiful wind turbines sitting there. And I knew that that was a place that I wanted to be home, that Massachusetts had it going on. And no matter what people says, I think we've heard people, that was the chairman of the American Lung Association, actually called, especially the South Coast, but Massachusetts, the tailpipe of America, because all of the pollutants that get into the air are coming across the country and ending up in our air. So I'm here tonight because I actually want you guys to support House Bill 3396 and Senate Bill 1831, which is solar access for all, which makes sure that solar power is available to all communities. One of the challenges we did a lot of energy efficiency education and education around solar, trying to get people to become early adopters. And I would say we're fairly successful with that, but with that, we saw a lot of people who just didn't have the resources, that their landlords weren't incentivized to participate in the programs. And so programs like this would make sure that the benefits of the technology that we do have are more fairly spread around. I also really like the Community Empowerment Act, which is the House Bill 1745 and Senate Bill 1834, which would allow municipalities to directly contract with renewable energy projects. So in towns like mine, I don't know when you guys moved here, or maybe always, I only had one choice for energy. That was National Grid, now Eversource. And I would like to see that, our town, we have the ability to create more energy, the ability to use the resources that we have to create an energy system that we want to have, one that goes along, that is a partner to the wind power that we have now, a partner to the opportunity for hydropower in our ocean, one of the unique resources that we actually have. So thank you very much for being here and listening to us tonight, and for supporting these programs. I know we have some really strong allies in our state government, and I want to thank you for that, and hopefully we can take it a little bit further, because in 20 to 50 years, when I'm your age, I want to know that we did everything we could.
Hey. That might apply to like 3 of us. But there's one here that really is going to take that by the wrong way. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't remember your name. Diana, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for your work in energy efficiency as well. It's extraordinary. Maria Conley from Dartmouth.
Hi, Senator Pacheco, how are you?
Good, very good.
I want to thank all of you for coming down here and listening to us. And I also want to thank you, Senator O'Connor. You're from Weymouth. You're the gentleman that came up with S469 bill that there was a hearing on today. Thank you so very much, because my daughter is a Weymouth resident, and they're fighting the compressor station there. And my son lives in Acushnet, and he's fighting the LNG tanks there. So it's like, Mom is getting out there and trying to fight for the both of them. Well, I am a member of South Coast Neighbors United Coalition, and we're fighting all this gas infrastructure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Clean energy should be Massachusetts' future, not fossil fuels. So please, please do whatever you can to stop Spectra Energy, which is actually a Canadian company now. They were bought out by Enbridge of Canada, Eversource and National Grid, from all their proposals, gas proposals for our state. They just want to come in, plow through our state, destroy our environment so they can make billions exporting all this fracked gas from Pennsylvania. We don't deserve this. We deserve that. And also, I feel that all these gas infrastructure plans are a danger to our security. Computer hackers are getting into gas companies' computer sites. They're trying to keep it quiet, but Boston Herald had a big article about it a couple of weeks ago. God forbid these hackers get into the computer sites of these gas companies. Solar energy and wind energy don't explode. Gas explodes. It belongs in the ground. It does not belong being part of our energy plans. Please. And also, this might sound crazy to you, but we talk about carbon tax. How about methane tax? Because these companies, gas companies, are not fixing thousands and thousands of leaks. They couldn't care less because we pay for all that leaked gas. Well, let them pay a tax on methane, because all this fracking got a hold, went big time in our country just a decade ago, in 2005. And now we have all these fracked wells are just huge methane leaks. And methane is actually worse. It traps heat. It's more potent at trapping heat in our atmosphere than carbon dioxide. So please, I thank you so very much. And please think of all of us, your fellow human beings. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much, Maria. You're the best. We're going to bring you to all the rest of the hearings. Because there should not be anybody that listens to you that would dare do anything else but to do what you're talking about. Thank you very much. Let me go, now this, I'm going to go through the rest of the people that signed up and said yes on the form, or checked off willing to speak. And then I'm going to open it up for anybody else that I have not mentioned, because there's only 3 or 4 people left. And so if you're sitting there saying, how come he hasn't called my name, it's because you didn't fill out the last column. So we will go Wendy Garcia, I think, or Gracia? Gracia. Okay, Gracia. East Freetown.
Wendy Marsha, I'm from South Coast Neighbors United in East Freetown. I'm also from all over Massachusetts. I grew up in Stoughton, I grew up in Rochester, I grew up in Quincy, Rockland, Wakefield, Stoneham, everywhere. So I care about Massachusetts. So we're here talking about the clean energy future, which is all spurred off of climate change. So I would like to talk about the climate. Not outside, but inside. Inside DC, inside the White House, inside our government. Contamination of our government has led to contamination of our natural resources and pollution of the environment, which is contributing to climate change. From the top down, there is an all-out attack on all things pure and vulnerable. Water, air, soil, food, equality, diversity, democracy. We are being stripped of things that should be considered basic human rights, not liberties or novelties. Lifestyle is often confused with life itself. People need basic fundamentals to survive: clean air, food, and water. Anything else is actually a luxury. I'm not knocking those luxuries because I enjoy them too. But there is a more responsible and sensible way to procure the power needed to use those luxuries than how we currently are. What good is it to have all of the perks of electricity, heat, air conditioning, appliances, lights, electronics, etc., if the basic fundamentals of life are compromised in the process? We hear from the dirty energy industry as excuses to remain dependent on their energy sources that the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. But Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering Mark Jacobson from Stanford University said, "History has shown us that when the sun isn't shining, the wind is blowing, and vice versa." With hydropower and battery storage, we also have the power to harness and store that energy to supplement each other. Another excuse they use is that, or they're going to start using, I heard, is that when we complain about the VOCs from their compressor stations and their infrastructure, well, cars and vehicles also have VOCs, so it's on us too. But that's why I actually support the South Coast Rail, the lines through Stoughton, and anything that's electric, as far as I'm concerned. But back to wind and sun and geothermal, these are naturally self-replenishing sources and ones that would be impossible for a terrorist to destroy. So it just makes sense to use those resources to coexist with the planet in a healthy way. This rush to extract and export fossil fuels isn't about making the U.S. energy independent. That's a complete smokescreen, which I am not buying, because you really can't get more energy independent than by using resources which are natural and self-replenishing, and fossil fuels are not. They have been trapped deep beneath the Earth's surface for centuries for a reason. And to those who are climate deniers, I challenge you, because you cannot pick and choose which science you want to believe in. It's all or nothing. So the next time you're sick, don't go to the doctor, don't get medication, don't get treatment, because it is the same science that diagnosed climate change that is used to diagnose human ailments and develop treatments. If you have no problem allowing fellow humans to suffer through droughts, flooding, extreme and unpredictable weather patterns, and catastrophes, and contamination of food, water, and air, then you should likewise have to suffer from what ails you. We're not asking for you to save the planet, we're asking you to save humanity. If we keep going at the rate we are, we will wipe the planet of all human existence. Buildings and everything man-made will crumble, and the earth will regenerate itself and flourish and bloom without us, because it is us and our activities that are killing it. The planet will survive, but we will not. Our government is making sure of that. They're dealing in what I call convenient mistruths, the ones that continue making only them rich, rather than the ones that benefit everyone else. This is why we have to rely on ourselves, and whenever possible, our local and state leaders, such as you, to protect us and not allow that contamination of our natural resources and basic human rights. We need to protect and preserve the bubble that surrounds Massachusetts and not allow it to be infiltrated by the polluters. Trump has already targeted Cape Cod by ordering the local commission, which advises the Cape Cod National Seashore, to suspend its meetings until further notice. We cannot allow him in at all. This is where our state and our local leaders can help us work together to protect what we hold dear and sacred, life. I implore you to publicly oppose all proposals to expand fossil fuel infrastructure in the Commonwealth and to find legally binding ways to make that happen. You can start by proposing or supporting bills that call for gas leaks to be fixed expediently, thereby saving our trees, wildlife, air quality, health, and money. Secondly, you can propose or support a bill which bans a so-called pipeline tax on electric and or gas ratepayers. It's one thing to say no to the ones that are being proposed. It's another thing to put an all-out ban. Done. No more proposals. And lastly, please do everything in your power to promote and enforce the clean energy revolution. If we start making those transitions quickly, there will be no justification for these dirty fossil fuel projects. I always tell everybody that all causes are worthwhile, whether it's, usually it's based on something that's touched you personally. So if you're somebody who fights to beat cancer or hunger or poverty or whatever the case may be, the point is, when you fight environmental justice, everybody wins. That's it.
Thank you very much, Wendy, and please share your remarks with us, because, I mean, you have done that verbally, but if you can give us your prepared testimony, because for the members that aren't here, I also want them to be able to read some of the testimony that people have given. So those of you that have testified, and if you do have written comments, please, get it into us so we can get it out to the other members. Thank you very much. It was very passionate and very well delivered. Thank you very much. Annabelle Santiago. Annabelle Santiago. Fairhaven. Right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Annabelle Santiago, and I'm with the Coalition for Social Justice, and we are a member of the Green Justice Coalition. So when I think about our environmental practices today, one image comes to mind. I live in Fairhaven, and I will usually take a walk down to Fort Phoenix, where I'm able to see New Bedford across the way. So I'm always seeing these huge clouds of smog and pollution over the city, and I can't help but think, I'm breathing that in. Our air pollution severely affects the health of people in my community. They get sick, they get asthma, and they struggle for clean air to breathe. New Bedford is a very diverse city and contains several environmental justice communities. Many people are low income, people of color, or non-English speakers. I have had the chance to sit down personally and talk to many residents of the public housing about the issues that they care about, and they have repeatedly expressed that they do care about our environment. And they would like to see cleaner, renewable energy sources. So, since many low-income communities and minority communities lack adequate representation, are not informed of environmental policies, and don't speak English well enough to understand technical language or industry jargon, they suffer the most from pollution and the health consequences that come with them. So we need equal environmental protection all across the state, and that's why I support the Environmental Justice Bill, which would codify former Governor Patrick's executive order and provide legal protection and opportunities for cleanup in the communities that I care about.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your written testimony as well. Thank you for being here. Marlene from New Bedford. Marlene, I can't make it out. You must be a doctor. Are you a doctor? Okay. Marlene, you can tell us your last name.
It's Pollock, like the fish.
Oh, Pollock, okay. I can make it up now. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for holding this and for being crusaders for a clean environment. I'm coming from New Bedford, the wind capital of the state.
Yes, it is.
And I'm here to support the Community Empowerment Act, Senate Bill 1834 and House Bill 1745. I like this very much because it enables the community to take some independent action. I mean, we're all sort of tied to Eversource, which is annoying as hell. If this passes, we could decide to make use of the community empowerment process through our elected officials or some public process. We could then look at various energy proposals that companies would put forward. And what I think is really critical is to guarantee them a 10-year life so that companies want to come in and know that they can get the financing from banks to make that kind of an investment, and that instead of for 1 or 2, 3 years, that it can go for 10 years. So I think that a lot of companies would be interested in that. And then once the project is operational, electricity customers within the community would have included in their bill either a credit or a debit related to their participation in community empowerment. So for example, if wholesale electricity prices are lower than the price agreed to in the community empowerment contract, then residents are charged just enough to make up the difference between the wholesale price and the community empowerment contract price. If the wholesale electricity prices are higher than the price agreed to in the community empowerment contract, then the residents receive a credit or a payment for the difference between the wholesale price and the community empowerment contract price, which seems pretty good. Not to mention the fact that this would all be generated locally. And so in preparation for tonight, I grabbed my latest electricity bill, which I'm sure everybody has seen in their bills too. So I paid $61.02 for the supply and $77.46 for the delivery. That is completely ridiculous. I have grandkids and actually a great-grandkid. I worry so much about them and what kind of future life they can look forward to. As Wendy's talking about, you know, the earth will be here, but will we be here? And I just think that it's time for us to say, electric generating companies' profits are not more important than people. We are more important, people before profits.
Thank you very much, Marlene Paula. Thank you. Victoria LeBlanc. Victoria? Haven. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for listening to everyone. Everyone in this room is aware that renewable clean energy is the only way that our planet and our people are going to survive and thrive. Big oil and coal power plants are producing and emitting so much pollution, and it's affecting our people and our environment. It's causing our fish to be poisoned with mercury, and it's causing people to have more asthma and just a higher rate of deaths at a lower age. It's also causing tons of floods and storms and detrimental environmental impacts. And I want it to be known that the people are aware of it, and we are very nervous about it, including the younger generations that you may not hear a lot from. We are very interested and very concerned in helping our environment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Victoria. And so that you'll know, we are hearing much more from the younger generation. And millennials are, talking to us old guys about this stuff. And we're getting a lot of connections on the State House website. So people are interfacing with the website, they're tweeting out, they're going back and forth with us, asking us questions. We'll do some research, get you answers. So we want tonight not to be the only night. We want to continue to have this dialogue and continue forward. So I've gone through everybody that has signed up. There are other people that said maybe, and there are people that said no. But what I'm going to do right now is open both of the mics. What you could do is, you haven't signed up, just come on up front to the mic. It'll be open mic for a few minutes here. And please, everybody, try to, because it's almost time for us to conclude. So just let's do, 2 minutes apiece, and just state your name and then where you're from, and we will try to find you on the sheet. And then we've had over, which is amazing, because we have over 100 people so far this evening that have come into this forum. And so I want to thank all of you for being here this evening and coming out on such short notice to be here and give us your opinions. Yes?
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
My name's Pat Neary, and I'm with the Bridgewater Green Committee. Since I retired, I am able to become an activist. Some people say activist, but I'm doing the best I can. This is a very neglected issue that I'm mentioning, but it follows up on what Joe said and several of the previous speakers said. With regard to global warming or climate change, there's one step every individual can do. Oh, thank you. Thank you. There's one step that every individual can do, and that is to do not idle your cars. There is a regulation